filled with unspoken words that neither of us knew how to address. My wife seemed hopeful that attending the conference together would help ease the strain, but I couldn't bring myself to pretend that everything was fine when it clearly wasn't. Despite my reservations, I agreed to go, my voice devoid of emotion. As we entered the school, the unfamiliar atmosphere weighed heavily on me. It had been years since I had been in such a setting. Our daughter sat in her seat, her posture tense, her gaze shifting between her mother and me, as if anticipating a confrontation. The teacher discussed her grades, behavior, and other routine matters, but it wasn't the meeting itself that unsettled me. It was the way our daughter avoided looking at me, almost as if I had vanished into thin air. After the conference, we lingered outside the school, the cool autumn air chilling us to the bone. My wife's expression was somber as she turned to me, her face reflecting a mix of emotions. She expressed the need to speak with them in a low and urgent tone. I admitted that I had already spoken to them, avoiding eye contact, and mentioned that they had made their feelings quite clear. She emphasized that, as the father, I should take the lead. This statement made me pause. I questioned her assumption, expressing bitterness in my voice, and reminded her that it was they who had rejected me as their father, not the other way around. She was left speechless, staring at me with a puzzled expression. The car ride back home was silent, and upon arriving, I noticed my daughter waiting by the door, appearing uneasy. As we entered the house, I felt a pang of resentment. I walked past them without a word, and the ensuing silence felt stifling. However, this time, they trailed behind me, lingering at the threshold of the living room. I didn't look up from my seat, trying hard to maintain the distance that had become a part of me. The youngest, my daughter, spoke softly, asking if we could talk. I didn't respond immediately, feeling her presence in the thick air filled with regret. I refused to make it easy for her, asking quietly if she wanted to talk now, without taking my eyes off the TV screen. I reminded her of the times she had claimed I wasn't her real father and how she didn't want to talk then. Her face showed clear guilt, but it didn't ease my feelings. I was tired of always being the one to mend things, to play the fatherly role without much appreciation. She admitted softly that she didn't mean what she had said, that she was just overwhelmed with anger and confusion. Her words sounded genuine, but they couldn't erase the hurt caused. The damage was done, and I doubted if we could ever return to how things used to be. Before, I acknowledged that you may not have intended it, I responded, but it still stings. I have been attempting to comprehend why you uttered those words, why you chose to distance yourself from me in such a manner after all the support I have provided. She was unable to provide an explanation, and neither could her sister, who had been quietly observing the exchange from the corner. After a brief pause, her sister finally spoke up. "I don't know what we were thinking, Dad." "I am truly sorry." I gazed at both of them, noticing their flushed faces and apologetic expressions. However, despite their apologies, I couldn't shake the feeling that it was too late, that too much had altered between us, and the divide was too profound. "Apologies don't mend everything," I murmured softly. "You can't simply declare that I am not your father and then anticipate everything to return to normal whenever it suits you." My words lingered heavily in the room, causing both of them to flinch. I sensed their remorse, yet it did not alleviate my pain. At that moment, my wife entered the room and stood in the doorway. As she watched the scene unfold, she understood the gravity of the situation. The tension had affected all of them, and she felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. The girls stood there silently, their expressions a mix of shame and sorrow. It wasn't the mere words of apology that made a difference. It was the realization that they had grasped the true meaning of loss, not just losing a person, but the very essence of family itself. In that moment, she acknowledged that it wasn't only the girls who needed to find a way forward, but she did too. Restoring what was broken would require more than empty promises. It would demand time, trust, and effort, things that had been lacking along the way. Uncertain about the future, she spoke softly. I'm not sure where we go from here, but I need to see your actions speak louder than words. Show me that you truly care? The youngest girl nodded, her face drained of color, yet a glimmer of comprehension shining in her eyes. We will, she replied, her voice fragile but resolute. At that moment, a realization dawned upon her. It was not just about them, but about rebuilding what had been lost. Realizing the significance of their words was crucial. I needed to acknowledge how long I had allowed this silence to persist. Perhaps there was still a chance to resolve this situation, but it would require effort from all parties involved. In that moment, after days of despair, a glimmer of hope emerged within me.